Good morning on Edge. Today is Monday, Parshas Tazria Metzoda Chuvuv Nissen Tuvshim Pai Vuv on Edge. My name is Gershy Schwarcz and I am your host on Edge. It's April 13th, 2026.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
Hayoim Achadus al Yoim Shahaim Shovia Echod Va'arbu Yumim Lu Oimer. For those of you who didn't count Sphira yet. And welcome all again. My name is Gershy Schwarcz. Pleased to meet you again. It's been Pesach, a long break. And for those of you who don't know, the United States and Israel recently ended a massive 38-day military operation. We didn't call it war, we called it military operation for legal reasons against Iran. The United States called it Operation Epic Fury, and Israel called it Operation Roaring Lion. It all started on Shabbos Zucher with the killing of the head of the snake, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme religious leader, along with other major leaders who were killed in the course of the operation. In other words, most of the regime is now dead. The US military says they destroyed 80% of Iran's nuclear capabilities and missile factories, the ballistic missile factories, and completely wiped out the Iranian Navy, sinking over 150 ships. Inside Iran, the Ayatollah has already been replaced with his extremist son, Mujtaba Khamenei, who has, was never heard of or been seen alive, by the way, just saying. So if anyone knows any information about him, please let me. I'm joking. Probably doesn't exist. Anyway, and if you listen to my special report on Edge with Shragi yesterday, you will hear us talking about the ceasefire and how it came about and what is to be expected, obviously, with some very valid, data that we brought onto the table. Now, I need to point out something. Speaking of, if you haven't yet told your friends about my show, please do. Spread the news, spread on Edge, to people who need it, because obviously there's so many different ways you can listen to the news and see the news, obviously, but most of those methods are not kosher. Mine is strictly kosher, approved by major Rabbonim Gedolei Hada, obviously, and I can tell you that if you speak to me, I'll let you know and I'll talk to you about it, but the program is designed in that way with the best technology, everything you want, everything you can expect from a Jewish news show, Jewish TV broadcast show, in the most kosher way, kosher entertainment, kosher news, obviously every single day, Baruch Hashem, B'li and Hara. Okay, speaking of, if you need a good website, I'm not talking about a website, I'm talking about software designing, you call Protobyte. Protobyte is there for you, 347-354-1237. You can mention my name on Edge, get a good discount. Go onto the website, check it out, proto-byte.com. Check out my website, onedgenews.com, and you will get to see what they did for me. Protobyte. Okay, America bombed a very important bridge. And when speaking about that bridge, I want to just point out to you that bridge was actually a very important hub, so to speak, a train or something like that. They bombed it as a signal to say that we can do more. But that happened right before the ceasefire was announced. Erev Shlishi Pesach, right before the ceasefire, an American F-15E Strike Eagle jet was shot down over Iran. Now, this launched a massive rescue mission deep inside enemy territory to save the weapons systems officer, who was hiding in the mountains for close to 36 hours. Obviously, he was shot down, and another guy was also shot down. So two pilots were basically shot down. One of them was rescued, but the media wasn't notified during Chol Hamoed, and then 48 hours later, this guy was rescued, and it happened to be very close to Isfahan, so nobody knows if it was actually a staged operation or it wasn't actually a rescue operation, because we all know, and we reported him many times, of this secret U.S. ambition to go and withdraw the remaining nuclear material that is still hidden in Isfahan somewhere. Okay, the military sent a giant force of 155 aircrafts and 200 special operations soldiers to get him out of there under heavy fire. That we do know happened. Israel even cancelled its own planned airstrikes to clear the sky for the rescue. Officials say that the mission was a success. Last week, Trump announced a 2-week ceasefire right before he threatened a new deadline on other deadlines he gave. And this time, like the little kids, you count them 1, I'm going to count to 3, 2, and 2 1/4, 2 1/2, 3, and now I'm going to have to count till 10. No, when it comes to 10, all right, let's talk. Let's have a negotiation. That's exactly what happened. So 8 p.m., Erev Shlishi Pesach was the official deadline. As the deadline approached, and we are getting ready for Yom Tov, the president posted a warning on social media. He wrote, quote, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. The deal was organized in Pakistan by a U.S. team, including Vice President J.D. Vance, Jared Kushner, a Jew, and Steve Witkoff, also a Jew, by the way. However, those marathon peace talks have now completely collapsed. On Motzei Shabbos, we got the reports, and they called the negotiations, people called it a bargaining bazaar. Yeah, basically, in other words, the talks failed, and J.D. Vance announced it, saying that he has the bad news. The bad news is that Iran didn't accept the terms. In other words, 6 American red lines which they didn't agree to. These red lines included freezing their nuclear uranium program, which they refused to do, stopping money go to the proxy terror groups like Hezbollah, Hamas, and giving up control of the Strait of Hormuz, which they obviously never did. The fragile truce actually broke down on Wednesday, Erev Yom Tov, Erev Shusha Pesach, when Iran seized oil tankers in the Strait. They did this in retaliation for Israel's airstrikes in Lebanon, which happened in just 10 minutes. We're going to talk about it soon. Because of this failure, and because the Strait of Hormuz is not even open yet, now with the U.S. blockade on the blockade, which we're also going to announce, we're going to talk about soon, that they announced last night, and obviously it's in effect right now as we speak from 10 o'clock this morning. Military forces are changing plans across the region. Saudi Arabia has restarted a major oil pipeline to avoid needing the Strait of Hormuz. And Pakistan has deployed over 10,000 troops and 18 fighter jets to a base in Saudi Arabia to help protect that project in the area. In other regional shifts, experts warn that Turkish President Erdogan is using this chaos to try and build a new Sunni alliance to replace Iran's influence. Guys, you got to watch that out. Like I told you many months ago, I had a conversation here with my brother-in-law, and he told me that, Iran is gone. The next Iran, so to speak, the next threat in the Middle East is Turkey. With the peace talks dead, President Trump has ordered the U.S. Navy to blockade the Strait of Hormuz. Like I told you, the narrow waterway in the Middle East, that much of the world's oil passes through there, right? The blockade officially began this morning at 10 a.m., like I said, Eastern Standard Time. The U.S. Navy is now blocking any ship trying to enter or leave an Iranian port, aiming to choke off 90% of Iran's exports. Normal cargo ships going to other countries are still allowed through, but American forces are searching ships and clearing naval mines, which are reportedly in the Strait, according to the IRGC. The United States is doing this almost entirely alone. Both the United Kingdom and Australia officially refused to join the naval blockade. President Trump warned that any Iranian force firing on peaceful ships will be, quote, blown to hell. Reports now show that American transport planes are already airlifting massive amounts of ammunition to resupply stockpiles in the Middle East. Iran's Revolutionary Guard, which is the country's most, brutal military force, who's left, obviously, is threatening to fight back. Experts warn that the conflict could spread as Houthi terrorists in Yemen are now threatening to restrict the Bab al-Mandeb Strait, which is another vital waterway known as the Gate of Tears, like tears. Okay. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin had a conversation with Pezeshkian, the Iranian president, today, offering to step in and mediate, obviously, seeing that the talks fell apart, obviously, again. Right. Here at home, the crisis is hitting the economy. Gasoline prices in the United States have surged to an average of $4.13 a gallon. As the conflict continues, Iran is fighting back using computer networks. The FBI, federal security agencies, have issued urgent warnings to cities across the United States. They say hackers working for the Iranian government are targeting the computer systems that control American water facilities and power plants. Don't you remember we reported the same very similar thing that is vulnerable in the Israeli system? We reported that, yes. Officials say the hackers have already forced some operations offline. Iran executed over 1,600 people in 2025 alone. That is the highest number of executions in the country since 1989, since this new Ayatollah, who's dead now, came in power after the first Ayatollah in 1979, 10 years before him. Numbers show the Iranian government put 4 to 5 people to death every single day last year. Human rights groups say that the regime is now speeding up the killings, the executions. They are specifically targeting political opponents and protesters who took to the streets against the government in January. A rights organization called IHR warns that if the Iranian regime survives, survives the ongoing war now, which is obviously on pause right now, there is a serious risk that executions will be used even more often. Families of the victims and activists are now making a demand. They insist that any negotiations to end the current war must be strictly tied to stopping these executions. Israeli security forces have stopped an Iranian plot to assassinate former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. The Shin Bet, the Israeli security secret force, and the Israeli police cleared the details for publication last week. They arrested a resident of Haifa on suspicion of working for Iranian intelligence to produce explosives. The suspect is currently in custody. The ceasefire with Iran did not stop the fighting in Lebanon. Israeli ground forces there was a whole debate whether Lebanon was part of the ceasefire or not. Israeli ground forces are destroying Hezbollah infrastructure across the south. Over the weekend, Haredi soldiers in Israel, the Israeli army, in Lebanon, was seen walking into Lebanon carrying a special Urim Kodesh backpack containing a Sefer Torah. I guess they do not want to skip a minyan while being sent into the battle by their government, Hashem Yishmor. Fighters from the Military Special Combat Engineering Group, the Yahalom unit, recently uncovered a massive weapons stash hidden inside a hospital and destroyed a highly reinforced underground tunnel. Hezbollah has a new tactic now, posing as medics and using ambulances to attack Israelis. Well, speaking before the Sefer Torah, Israeli soldiers, I just want to point to you that I had a conversation with an amazing rabbi, Chabad Shliach, Rabbi Getzi Markowitz, at a Pesach program at the FFH last week. It was amazing and a good conversation. It was in front of people, obviously, but we recorded it and we're going to post it as one of our specials here. It's a very important segment, obviously, so watch out and wait for it. And we will... Yes, he's right now actually in the March of the Living, in where our grandfathers and grandparents were murdered in Auschwitz. Anyway, so let's continue. Israeli troops are currently capturing the city of Bint Jabil, which is basically a major stronghold, a Hezbollah stronghold. Troops killed over 100 terrorists and just took over the city's stadium. That's in a separate story, obviously, this morning. Now, this is the exact same site where former terrorist leader Hassan Nasrallah gave his famous spiderweb speech 26 years ago, predicting Israel's collapse. Now, his stadium is in Israeli hands. These ground operations follow massive airstrikes. Last Wednesday, on Erev Shvi Pesach, in a sudden surprise attack, Israel killed more than 350 people across Lebanon in a matter of minutes. The military confirmed that at least now 250 of the dead were high-ranking Hezbollah officials who were killed. The cross-border fire also continues. A Hezbollah rocket recently hit the remains of a 1,500-year-old church in the northern Israeli city of Nahariya. 4 weeks, not four, like as number 4, 4 weeks, like 4 weeks, Macron from France, the president, has been pushing for a peace proposal that would require Lebanon to officially recognize the Israeli state. Israel initially refused, but under pressure from the White House, Netanyahu surprised everyone and agreed to direct negotiations. He's obviously getting backlash from his opposition leaders. And so, while the fighting continues, historic direct peace talks between Israel and Lebanon are scheduled to begin next week in Washington. Israel will be represented by Ambassador Yechiel Leiter. Israel has also officially chosen the next head of the Mossad, which is the country's main intelligence agency. As you know, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has appointed IDF Major General Roman Goffman to lead the agency. The Mossad Goffman currently serves as the military secretary to the Prime Minister. There is some controversy surrounding the choice in the past. When Goffman was an IDF commander, he was involved in using a minor for an online influence campaign to shape public opinion. Despite this, a government committee officially approved him today, and he will take over the job in June. An international security, we all know David Barnea is basically stepping down, right? He's retiring. In international security news, an armed terror attack targeted the Israeli consulate in Istanbul, Turkey. 3 gunmen opened fire in the building, leading to a shootout with Turkish police officers. Now, the officers killed one of the attackers and arrested the other 2. No Israelis were obviously hurt in that incident. An American journalist is finally free after being held hostage in Iraq. 49-year-old Shelley Kittleson was kidnapped in Baghdad last month. We reported it here by Katib Hezbollah terrorists. Secretary of State Marco Rubio led this rescue operation and announced that her release last week. The US is now helping her get home safely to Wisconsin, where she lives. In domestic crime, police in New Jersey are hunting down masked shooters after a deadly ambush inside a crowded Chick-fil-A restaurant. The attack happened Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos in Union Township. Multiple masked gunmen opened fire inside the building, killing one person and injuring 6 others. Investigators say this was a targeted attack. Back in New York City, a man wielding a machete attacked 3 senior citizens inside the Grand Central subway station this weekend. On Shabbos morning, 44-year-old Anthony Griffin stabbed 3 people on a train platform. New York police responded and killed the attacker right away. The 3 victims are in hospital, obviously with serious injuries. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani just marked his first 100 days in office with a large rally. During his official 100-day address, he obviously celebrated what he calls pothole politics. This means focusing on basic neighborhood repairs. He told the crowd that his success comes from a democratic socialist agenda, obviously. Senator Bernie Sanders, who we all know is also a socialist, stood right next to him on the stage to praise this approach. Mamdani is pushing hard for new childcare programs. He also wants the government to start managing food sales by opening city-run grocery stores. At the rally, he officially revealed the location for the very first site. The mayor pointed to a new city document claiming there is $180,000 racial wealth gap in the city to justify raising taxes and cutting police funding. Diversity and equity language was obviously quietly removed from the document. When asked why the language was taken out by reporters, the mayor avoided answering the question. Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, said he thought New York City had hit rock bottom with Bill de Blasio, but then came Mamdani, he says. In international news, the leader of Hungary has lost the election after 16 years in power. Prime Minister Viktor Orban admitted he lost in a landslide this week. He was very close to Trump, and Trump officially endorsed him. Looks like anyone who Trump endorses recently loses, so Trump should stop endorsing them if he really wants them to win. He should obviously endorse the other guy. All right, anyway, the opposition leader, Peter Magyar, can't pronounce his name right anyway, won 138 seats, giving him a supermajority to change the constitution. The streets of Hungary was dancing and celebrating, and still are, by the way. Budapest chief Rabbi Buruch Oberlander was among the local residents who cast a ballot in the historic vote. Meanwhile, the Pope is strongly criticizing Trump and the war in Iran. Pope Leo XIV said the fighting must stop. Well, it did stop, so I'm not sure what he's talking about. He's talking about the Strait of Hormuz blockade, on the blockade. President Trump launched a furious attack against him, obviously, on Truth Social and on the airport tarmac as well. Trump criticized him as being weak on crime and terrible on foreign policy. He was angry that the Pope recently met with left-wing David Axelrod, who is a radical left lunatic, and that the Pope is crazy for condemning the American attacks on Venezuela by capturing Maduro, the man responsible for death and destruction in the U.S. Trump said, quote, Venezuela emptied its prisons to send murderers and drug dealers to America. Trump also said he prefers the Pope's older brother, Louis, calling him All MAGA, and claimed the Pope was only elected to deal with him, with Trump, basically. In a move that got a lot of attention, Trump also posted an AI-generated image of himself depicting himself as Oysuhuish, standing right next to a soldier and a bald eagle. Now, back in Gaza, the deadline for Hamas to give up their weapons has expired, obviously, as you can imagine. Well, they're supposed to, there was a ceasefire in place in Gaza, and the next phase of the ceasefire is for Hamas to disarm. They're obviously not doing that. So, the IDF, the Israelis, decided to take matters into their own hands. On Sunday, the IDF dropped leaflets in Gaza City yesterday, warning civilians to avoid association with Hamas. The content reportedly advises residents to distance themselves from Hamas-linked individuals or activity. Let's talk about not distancing yourself from your business communication system. When you have communication and it's falling apart, because you're dealing with hundreds of multiple different platforms to get and receive and send messages from, or even your whole system, your CRM system is just all over the place. Paying multiple subscriptions and obviously for different users, paying more money depending on the users you have. End all that hassle with Kliger. Become a little bit Kliger. Go on to Kliger.com, KLEEGR.com, mention on Edge, or call them on 845-335 3343, that is Kliger. All right, now, in technology news, the CEO of OpenAI has been attacked twice in 3 days. Sam Altman is the head of the company that created ChatGPT, as you all know, right? Over the weekend, shooters fired a gun at his mansion in San Francisco. This happened just 2 days after a man threw a homemade firebomb at Altman's house. Police have arrested suspects in both cases and say the attacks are linked to an extremist group that wants to violently stop the development of artificial intelligence. To wrap up the news, they obviously attacked the wrong guy because Sam Altman ChatGPT is obviously failing. I mean, as you all know, I'm not speaking for myself, I'm speaking for many, many people that are in the industry of AI say that ChatGPT is basically hallucinating, failing. And the leaders right now in this is Gemini and obviously Claude. Not talking about the other guys because Grok is Grok, Elon Musk is always with surprises, you never know. To wrap up the news, a 32-hour ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine for the Christian Easter weekend has completely fallen apart. You never even knew it existed, by the way. Just saying. There was another war. There is another war going on in Ukraine and Russia, by the way, just so you know. And there was a ceasefire in place for the Easter weekend and everything, yeah. In U.S. politics, California Congressman Eric Swalwell has stopped officially his campaign for governor. He announced it yesterday because of severe allegations of personal misconduct and ethics violations. And in space news, the NASA astronauts who flew to the moon have safely returned. Yes, you all know, we have announced right before Pesach that they're going to do this. They're going to fly to the moon. The Artemis 2 crew spent the last 2 weeks flying around the dark side of the moon to test new equipment. They splashed down safely into the in the Pacific Ocean today. It was a beautiful operation. They caught magnificent images from an eclipse point of view. The moon and the globe in front of the moon was beautiful. It was just a beautiful sight to see. It was mamash murabi maseh Hashem. Beautiful pictures that have never been taken by humans that far in space. Finally, a 14-year-old is officially running for governor in Vermont. Yes, his name is, he's high school freshman. Dean Roy has successfully placed his name on the state's ballot as the next Vermont governor. A 14-year-old. The Vermont state constitution does not have an age limit for the governor's office, so if you're 5, you can also run for governor. So this guy is a smart man. 14-year-old smart man created his own third party and says he wants to focus on fixing housing costs and rebuilding nuclear energy. He says his political ambition started in 8th grade. Which was only last year. All right, let's talk about Wise Capital Group. Now, if you want to borrow some money, you call Wise Capital Group because they always have the answer for you. The answer is yes. 718-831-2168. Borrow some money to get your good investment, your capital investment for a building. Wise Capital Group. And if you want, Arrive Express is there for you. 845-622-1111 when you want to book a taxi. 845-622-1111. 845-254-1111. All right, my friends, have yourselves a wonderful day. We'll see each other Be'ez work tomorrow.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.